Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Phil's Recap and Review, The Sopranos Live Watch, Season 4, Episode 3, Christopher. A very interesting episode of The Sopranos that is probably not one of everybody's favorite episode of The Sopranos in probably on most people's lower rankings, but I got to admit, Matt, of course I'm not alone. I have my host, there he is. I have Big Daddy Matt with me tonight. How's it going, Matt?
Good. You can't see me. Oh, all right. Let me fix this a little bit.
Yeah, just tilt your camera a little bit. There you go. There he is. There he is. But what I was going to say to you, Matt, was I know this is considered one of the bottom half Soprano episodes, and I actually put a poll. If you're joining us live, please jump in that poll. Give your thoughts on whether you think this is one of the handful of poor or lower end of Soprano episodes. I would say it's more middle tier for me. On this rewatch, I was watching it a little different. It holds up with nowadays when you're kind of watching it in some ways. It's very satirical at times too. I think the biggest problem I have with it is that one storyline. And I also want to say something. I teased this before, but I learned this recently this week when researching this episode. And originally, this episode was written for Paulie, from what I've imagined. It wasn't supposed to be a main Sil episode. It was supposed to be Paulie.
It makes a lot more sense as a Paulie episode.
Dude, that's what I was gonna say. I don't know if that's true. It was in a book about the Sopranos. That's my checking my sources. It was in a Soprano book, and they talked about it a little bit on Talking Sopranos. So I'm going off if they're saying it. If Christopher and Bobby are saying it, I'm gonna copycat them. But Matt, exactly. You can almost see the way the dialogue, the way the episode opens up, some of the way it all comes together. It would make a lot more sense as a Paulie episode.
Because Scylla is so level-headed 95% of the time, it's so out of character for him to be the one drawing heat to the family because he can't get his emotions out of his way. But that's all shit Paulie does all the time. Paulie always has
that's Paulie's
a trigger finger and overreacts to everything. I mean, Pine Barren's perfect example. Like, Paulie, if you just relax for a second and step back, you'd realize how ridiculous what you're doing is.
And we could get into that in this episode too. And that's the other thing about this episode, Matt. We talked a little bit about this a couple weeks ago because we're actually in a rhythm now. This episode introduces a lot of big story points moving forward and closes off one. I didn't realize Janice and Ralphie were all in this episode, done and finished. We meet Pyomai in this episode. We get the fallout from, which leads into this, of Paulie, basically all Paulie's ratting, and I'm calling it ratting, that he's been doing with Johnny Sack is coming, the chickens have come to roost, Bobby Boucher, because we get where he is talking to Tony about Freeland Highs and Avenue thing, that Paulie's the one that kind of gave that up, and obviously with the mole on Ginny Sack's, this isn't about the mole on Ginny Sack's ass, but Paulie is a shit starter, and he doesn't think steps ahead either. He's short-sighted. Now, a question I have for you that's above all of this, because we're going to get into some other Johnny stuff later. This wasn't a plan Johnny made, you think, or did Johnny just take advantage of the fact that Paulie is a yakety yak, won't shut up kind of guy, or did you think is Johnny at this point Machiavellian, or is he just taking advantage of every situation and he's really trying to keep his beak out, Tony? Like, what are your opinions on Johnny Sack? Because we haven't really talked about Johnny before.
I think if Johnny was really trying to be thinking 4 steps ahead, he would have mentioned it to Carmine. I think he would have mentioned it to Carmine if he really was thinking out, like, hey, listen, we got a guy in, because obviously Carmine would want someone from New Jersey who would, sing to them all the stuff that they wanted to hear. So I think he would have, I don't know why he was as careless he was with not, because eventually, I don't think it doesn't happen in this episode, but eventually when Paulie gets out, he goes up to Carmine, and Carmine's like, I don't know who the hell you are.
Yeah, because Johnny totally gets his hand right up that ass and is like, you can join the New York family and all that kind of stuff, and totally sets...
Carmine always asks about you. He appreciates, it's bullshit. Like, I don't know why he didn't just clue Carmine in on it.
I can't remember if that is this season where it all comes to a head. I think it might be towards the end of the season.
It's whatever. He has to be out of jail by the time it happens. So I don't know if he was in if he was in jail for the whole season or not.
No, I think he shows up towards the latter half of the season, and I believe, I could be wrong, this is the season where he has to murder Min, his mother's friend, when he tries to steal the money from under her bed. I think that's all this season, but I could be wrong. We are going to be finishing season 4 this year, so
don't promise. We're planning on.
We're planning on it, Matt. Okay, planning on it. And by the way, let me pop into the We're Not Alone. We have with us the Lorraine chat. We got John Haymaker, Luna. We got Mark A. Houston. What's going on? We got Sonic, your boy. We got Why So Curious. And great to have all of you guys here tonight to talk about and watch this Sopranos episode. And if by chance you're checking this out at a later date, and thank you to everyone that checked out last week's episode. It wasn't a lot, but that was more views than we usually get, so thank you. But if you are checking this out later after the fact and you've not watched one of these with us before, basically we're going to be watching the episode live, doing our own, I guess, Sopranos commentary as if we were anything to do with the making of this episode, and we will let you know when we start the episode and we will sync it up. But yeah, Matt, the Columbus Day story is stupid, but I guess my point is, I think it was made to be stupid. It was more of, especially when you hear Michael Imperioli talking a little bit about it, who he's one.
He wrote it, right?
He's one of the writers. Yeah. They were really trying to kind of poke fun on all the Italian organizations that were attacking the Sopranos at the time. So there's some meta-ness to the episode too, where they want to just show the stupidity of the people that are against them and what they, I don't know. So there's lots of interesting moments that break down the reality of it, or not the reality of it, because it is the reality, or kind of take a satirical view of it, with the Native American chief, the guy that runs Foxwoods. Basically, they don't call it Foxwoods, but it's Foxwoods. Is like, yeah, I discovered I had 5% Native American in my blood right around the time that gambling became legal. Ha ha ha.
Which, to be real, like, that kind of happened.
That's what I'm saying. Those are like, they're doing a good sort of real life satire. So I'm viewing this episode in a different light, and I don't know if I think it's one of the worst episodes, especially when you have episodes like Happy Birthday, Mr. President, like episodes like that, or A Hit is a Hit, which is a really crappy kind of episode where
yeah, it is.
And I think this is better than those. I think it's a level up from those. So I'm not sure if I subscribe to one of the worst. It's funny too. It's kind of a funny episode.
The final scene with them in the car is one of my favorite scenes ever, when they're driving back, and we'll get. I don't want to ruin that.
Oh no, we'll get to that. But again, that's one of the lines that I'm talking about. Could be, there's certain shows you watch, Matt, and for whatever it's worth, they don't necessarily feel like they exist in the same timeline of that we're in a sense. Like it's like when we were a kid rewatching shows like The Honeymooners or I Love Lucy or MASH even.
Or All in the Family.
Or All in the Family. Yeah, shows that were just of a different age, so we can appreciate it more as adults, and when everything's in high def that you can get versions of it and find it somewhere so everything's in clarity. But when you're a kid watching that stuff, there's certain things that take you out of it. And I think compared to some of its sister and brother shows on HBO and other shows of its era, that The Sopranos holds up surprisingly well. Technology isn't a crazy part. Yeah, the computers come in. He's playing a Nintendo 64. We see the cell phones go, the pagers, the cell phones.
Selling Wobistics. Yep.
Yeah, and Wobistics and stuff. But for whatever reason, when I'm watching it, I don't think about it quite as much. With The Wire, it deals a lot with tapping phones and tapping payphones, so payphones are a huge part of it. I would say that if it wasn't for the payphones, The Wire probably would feel the same way, but payphones are a huge part of, especially of the early Wire, and that just you can't help but feel like that's stuck in a time warp. But and I know Sopranos, that stuff pops up sometimes, but there's some things about it, and I think part of it is the way the comedy is woven into it. And that monologue in particular, and some other stuff that's going, like the Gary Cooper conversation. There's
and the line from Christopher has been in every Reddit like thread ever. That line from Christopher is quoted about something else, but using that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, Matt. That line. There's so many lines in this episode that are constantly quoted. You also have the Ralphie sympathy for the devil thing that gets a continuation in this episode when he says "pleased to meet you." So that's a big, not a big thing, but that's a big part of this episode. And so I'm not gonna waste any more time. Let's get into it. We got Lady Stoneheart, Kimmy G in the live chat. Thank you so much. The only episodes that felt a little dated was the pilot. I agree, Luna. There's something about the way it's shot that feels more dated, and the way it's organized, because I think initially that was going to be structured more as the first act of a movie, and then he spread it out to a series. But I agree. I think the pilot's the only one. Starting after the pilot, The Sopranos almost feels like it exists in the place between time, Matt.
Yeah, and it helps that it's that outside of one episode, there's no CGI in it. You know, like outside of the Livia thing, that helps, because CGI dates everything.
Yeah,
you know,
it's the reason why, and not to get too off subject, but there's Nintendo 64 on The Sopranos. It's the reason why games of the PS1 and the Nintendo 64 age, even though we still bi-yearly have all of our friends get together to play a Nintendo 64, but realistically speaking, those games don't hold up as much as Super Nintendo and regular Nintendo games, because essentially you're using the 8-bit technology, but when you're dealing with that early polygon stuff, you're trying to do realism graphics like in Bond. Or I remember one time on that game night we played Bond instead of a cartoon game. We're like, we can't play this. It hurts our eyes because it's supposed to be photorealism to a sense, and that's what that was at that time. And I think there is something to be said about that with the other kinds of technology as well. Yeah, with CG, that's what I mean. I forgot where I was going because I'm smoking and drinking, but because I'm like a Soprano guy. But yeah, and that's why I think CG from a certain era doesn't hold up, and that's why movies like Terminator 2 and the Lord of the Rings movies are so amazing in what they were able to accomplish, because they walk that perfect line between practical and CG. So those movies, 99%, when you watch them now, the CG and whatever is used, the effects are
the Matrix still holds up. The Matrix still holds up, but that was at the time the most cutting edge movie that had ever come out with like CG. So all right, let's do this. Let's do this. Stop saying we're going to do it and actually do it.
Okay, 1 second. I got to sneeze. What? Here we go.
No, unacceptable, Phil.
Oh, there it was. Okay, here we go. I'm going to do 3, 2, 1, go.
3, 2, 1, and then go.
Okay, here we go, everybody. Get your on your marks. No, 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, I'm behind you.
You're behind me?
I'm ahead of you, I mean.
Should I tap 10 seconds?
No, I'm going to pause.
Okay.
And I'll be good.
I didn't watch all the Sopranos. We got Jen Hack in the live chat. Thank you so much, Jen Hack, for checking this out. I didn't watch The Sopranos, saving it up for a huge binge. There are shows I do that for as well. I know Matt does that a lot, in the sense of it takes you a lot to sink time into a show, but there are several shows on your list that you want to get to at some point eventually.
And listen, when like Severance comes out, I will watch that in real time. I watch Ted Lasso when it comes out right away.
I think, so you'll watch Apple Plus series. I was going to say Ted Lasso ended, but...
It did, yeah. But when it came out, I did.
Great to see Jen Hack. But yeah, this is, I think right from the beginning, this episode is very much, and I don't know why I didn't look at it at the time, Matt, because maybe it was hard to conceptualize that The Sopranos was comedy. This episode is played much more for comedy than anything before this. I mean, except for maybe Pine Barrens. Like, this has that kind of intentional.
Well, yeah, and imagine if it was Pauly, how much funny it would have been. It would have been that.
It would have been a follow-up for Pine Barrens, for more Pauly causing more shit. Instead, it's weird because it's the second week in a row that Tony has problems with Sil, right? Didn't we end last week's episode with
Tony would have gotten a lot madder at Pauly than he did at Sil here, though.
Or if it wasn't going to be forgotten about essentially after this episode, both situations, he would have actually gotten mad at Sil. They just didn't want it to stick. But great visual.
Did you start the episode now?
Yeah,
it's yellow Massachusetts.
Yeah, we're right in. We're looking at Furio's penis ponytail. Great visual design in the beginning of this episode. Everything just looks great.
New Jersey Council of Indian
And then they start right away, Matt. They start right away with this shit just to be like, bam, comedy. Thank you so much for Jen Hack joining the channel. Thank you so much. Welcome for a dime bag of support. I appreciate it more than you know.
Luna, I still, to this day, and I'm watching Winning Time right now, to this day when I see that HBO thing flash, I expect the song afterwards.
I think for most people, even though they're not necessarily the two best HBO series, you could argue they're arguing. For me, it's either I usually hear The Sopranos. I would say some people probably hear Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Hey, C-Bob.
Phil, just FYI, you know we still have technical difficulties, right?
Yep. I'm just I'm doing.
No, that's fair. I just want to make sure you know.
Yep. You don't have to move. 1 second, Matt. Okay, what's funny about that line, they pointed this out in the Talking Sopranos episode. That's basically what they do. They basically just sit on their ass, like, and fucking drink and smoke all fucking day. Like, they have that job. The things they complain about.
And complain about having to sit around the construction site all day.
Yeah, no shows.
They literally sat around.
Yeah, exactly. And so again, right away, these guys are made out to be total idiots. This is one of those episodes that uses the framing thing of making them idiots. In fairness, Christopher doesn't get into any of this.
No, he doesn't care enough.
And I guess this is somewhat one of the last we see of this Furio. You know, I know Furio and Carmela start. That's the other thing that starts in this episode. The one thing I forgot in our pre-show discussion.
Oh, when she gets in front of the mirror.
Yeah, and no, but
is that this one or is that the last one?
That was the last one. This is even more. She talks about him, maybe in this scene. She's talking about him, and then they have, he brings her cookies, and they make googly eyes at each other for the whole scene. Oh yeah, this has all of this whole thing too. And I love how they subtly keep reminding you what's going on with Adriana. There's something where Carmela says something about being two-faced, and they flash the camera on Adriana for a second. Excuse me.
Oh, here she is, getting all fired up.
Who are you talking about? Carmela Soprano, right? You're talking about Edie Falco right now, aren't you?
No, I'm talking about your boy Furio.
Oh yeah, they're talking about the ponytail. Well, my friend thinks it looks like a penis on the top of his head. Yeah, I heard it. Luna says Furio is sexy. Is Furio the most attractive male on The Sopranos?
No, we've been through this. Artie in real life, without the bald head, is attractive.
Yeah, it was Artie, right?
That's what I mean, I don't find any of them particularly attractive, but there's been pictures of Artie I've seen, if you get him like with his head completely shaved, where he doesn't have much competition.
Oh, by the way, I hit the end of poll by accident right when it's 50-50. So I guess we have the winner. Sorry, I clicked on it.
This whole scene, I forgot this is in this episode. She's still doing. Oh, that's right. I watched this one a week ago. So yeah, this is the scene where they.
Yeah, he's talking to your dog on the phone while he's getting used like a whore. I love how Janice
on the street, get out there. Yeah, and Janice is totally into it.
Yeah, and I love how she says whore like Ralphie does. Like
right.
Hooah.
She was a hooah.
She was a hooah. Why So Curious says Furio and Christopher are attractive. I think Michael Imperioli is attractive in real life. I don't know if Christopher is.
Yeah, I don't know if Christopher is.
He sat on a dog. He sat on a dog.
I mean, a guy that would actually be considered traditionally attractive is like Tony's driver that he beats up at the end.
Oh, Muscles Murgitude or
yeah. I'm not saying or even what's the kid that gets killed there? One of the ones that you're
Matt Bellawakwa or whatever.
No, the other one.
C. I know who you're talking about.
But the other kid too, the other Wabistics kid that was his friends with.
Corey, I miss you, my friend. So here we go with Paulie just being a complete dumbass. Is Paulie just stupid, Matt?
No, he's pissed. He hates Ralphie. And it was funny because yesterday I was watching a clip where Paulie's sitting there insulting her as well. If you hold on to Ginny's sack, you'll lose your hand.
Oh yeah, he's made like multiple Ginny sack jokes. Multiple.
But any excuse he can have. I think really there's no one in this show that Paulie hates more than Ralphie.
Yeah, I mean, okay, this is I agree with that. I think a lot of people hate Ralphie, but probably Paulie the most because he's the biggest threat to his position in the family. So right away here, as they're sitting down at the dinner table, Johnny has a bug up his ass with Ralph, and I love how no one really take note of it, but they're just like, this Ralphie must have done something. You know, none of them think about the real thing that it could be. You know, like he must have done something serious. But
plus Ralphie's just like Ralphie pisses off everyone. He's one of those people. Like,
yeah.
No, I don't think anyone genuinely likes Ralphie.
Go
ahead. Who? Vito that makes him go.
No, not play, Vito. I would say Rosalie at a point in time, maybe.
Maybe. That's it.
That's it, basically. And you get a feeling that Johnny likes him before the Ginny Sack stuff. They were friendly.
Yes, they were. Because remember, he went to Johnny when he thought Tony wanted to kill him over
exactly
killing that hua.
That hua, yeah. We had our thing. So here we go. Furio's wearing the
whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
Call that.
With that busy shirt, which I'm jealous. I want it.
No, I mean it looks like something Hendrix would wear, but it would have a totally different effect if Hendrix was wearing it.
Yeah, I agree with that. It would have acid in the pockets. Right. We got Corey, motherfucking Mitchell. We got Hemp with the lost stooge in the loud motherfucking chat right now, and I agree with you. Corey, Joey Pants he's just one of those actors that as good as he is, he doesn't get the credit I think he deserves. He's been doing it forever. I remember him when I was a kid in movies like Midnight Run, and he was in a couple movies around that time.
He was in The Fugitive afterwards.
Yeah, The Fugitive. And then obviously the aforementioned Matrix. I think he's the best part of the Matrix movie.
Yeah, and he's in Memento too. I haven't seen Memento in
Memento's
20 years,
great.
But he's like the main character in Memento.
Yeah,
second main character.
Yeah, he's. So yeah, this is a change in Furio. Do you?
And I'd like to say for anyone here who's like under the age of like 30 that may be listening to us, Phil and I grew up our entire lives with it being Columbus Day, and there not being any argument about it. There was none of this when we were kids about like, oh, let's call it, I apologize. It's not a state holiday in Vermont. What is the name of it now? It's like it's Indigenous Peoples Day. It's like what it's called now for the most part. But like growing up, this was like at the time. When this was on The Sopranos. This is the first time that like states are starting to consider maybe changing the name of it or not having Columbus as, some hero on horseback.
Yeah.
Or on a ship, I guess. I guess it wasn't really on horseback, but so this is timely when it came out.
Now, Tony liked his earning ability. Jackie Jr. did, but he's an idiot. And part of me wonders because Vito becomes a great earner too. Is it partly like the roots that crew has that makes them the highest earners? It's not necessarily the people.
They're good at. They're in the construction side of stuff, which is like that's sort of their specialty. Like Paulie's doesn't do construction. Vito actually does construction. Like we know that's his specialty. Like that's what he did as a physical job at one point.
And Joey Pants is a great actor. It's interesting because he's one of maybe two known. There's a few that pop in for bit parts, but for big runs on the show, Joey Pants came for a contracted amount of time. His character was always going to die when he came in, or always be written out at some point in time. I compare it a little bit to what happened with Tony's favorite cousin, Tony B, there with Buscemi that comes on in season 5 for sort of an extended run, a known actor. But I think even though I like Buscemi's run better than Matt does, and we'll get into that more later, I think Ralphie's was an incredible success. I want to talk about a couple things in this scene right here, just because I learned about this in the Talking Sopranos. Most of the actors in this scene working, like the judge and the court stenographer and stuff, are all crew members. No, they're like crew members, but some of them are like, I think the DA or something is a crew member that used to be a DA or something like that. I recommend listening to the Talking Sopranos to get the actual details of it. But a lot of like the judge is like a script supervisor or second director or something like that. So they use opportunities like that to give other people in the staff roles. This actress right here, the one that sort of rips them all apart. I know her from a show called Nip Tuck. I love Nip Tuck. It was Ryan Murphy's, who some people might know from Troy McClure. Some people might know him from. You might know him from American Horror Story or Glee. His first show was a show called Nip Tuck about plastic surgeons in Miami.
It was on FX, right?
Yep. And it was an early dark drama about they weren't quite Tony Soprano or Walter White, but they weren't great people all the time, especially one of the characters. And she was sort of she played the nurse in the doctor's office, so she was a pretty big character.
This is the most acting I think that Sil's wife does in the whole show, obviously.
No, she's a piece of ass. At least she used to be.
Right, at least she was when you married her.
I mean, I think part of Stevie Van Zandt's whole thing about coming to work on The Sopranos, at least this is the lip service he gives it. I don't know how much of this is real and how much Stevie Van Zandt's just a really good bullshit artist, but he's like, I felt bad taking a role from an actor. His wife was the actor in the family. Like, the only reason he even heard about Soprano auditions is through her and through getting involved in acting circles was through his wife, who didn't obviously have quite a successful role like this, because Stevie Van Zandt couldn't have played any other role. He's not an actor. He's not a trained actor. He's Stevie Van Zandt playing Sil. Like, he gets better as it goes. I don't think I'm ever watching it and being like, ugh, he's not good. But he's not an actor, and he verbalizes it by saying he didn't want to take jobs away from actors. He wanted to make sure that I think it was his urgency that she play his wife, and to make sure he gives actual actors jobs.
There's a kid we went to elementary school with, Scott K. I'll leave it at that. He claims that Stevie Van Zandt's the worst actor he's ever seen in his life. I don't know
about the worst, but he's not. He plays himself. But
he's great as himself.
He's not the worst actor on The Sopranos. I don't know about the worst actor in the world. Like,
I agree. He's not even close.
We live in a world with big pussy and
Jackie Jr.
and Jr.
and AJ.
Hey, leave AJ alone. No, I'm kidding.
And my boy Skip.
Yeah, he's the word. The Skip. Your buddy Skip. Tony Pajamas. Sorry, I love that name. It's amazing. Still I can't imagine anyone else in the role. Me neither. I think they almost created the role for him because when he initially came in, he was reading for Tony. So I don't know if Sil was even a character at the beginning, or is it one of those cases where they wrote a role for him.
This show would have never existed if he was Tony.
I don't think this show have existed if Ray Liotta was Tony, who was someone they really wanted to do. I think
that would have no.
No, I think you needed James Gandolfini, and I think you needed Edie Falco, and you needed Dominic. I think those three characters happen to be, and Christopher was cast perfect too, I think, but I think you could have got away with a different Christopher in a weird way. I think the fact that Junior, Tony, and Carmela were such iconic, amazing characters, and
we're all equally as strong as each other and could not be overwhelmed by the other one.
We haven't
seen that they were in together.
We haven't talked about them in a while, and not yet in this episode. I don't know if I've been talking through his scenes, but Junior is fucking amazing in this episode. The selfish prick when he calls. Oh no, it's later because Karen dies later. Who
we never even heard about. We never even know who Karen is until this episode, and then they just show her here in this scene.
And then the coffin. Yeah, I think she might be in one other episode or something. How did he do in Lilyhammer? So he was playing Sil. Lilyhammer was watchable. It wasn't a tremendous show, but I watched all of it, and it was like if Sil survived or went into witness protection. He's basically he does a little bit more acting. I think he is better in the show. I think Ray Liotta could have pulled it off. I mean, initially, I think in David Chase's mind, it was going to be Lorraine Bracco and Ray Liotta, and they were going to recreate that Goodfellas dynamic.
Sonic, your boy, I want to go back to something you mentioned at the top before. I would look, as far as it's changed from Columbus Day, it's kind of a state-by-state thing, so I don't think it's a national holiday. I work for the state in Vermont, and we don't get the day off at all, but I know in Massachusetts it's changed its name, but I think it's really state-by-state, where they've either changed its name or chosen not to celebrate it as Columbus Day anymore. Oh, this is ridiculous with Artie here. The one time,
Dude,
well,
this is the funniest show.
there's two times when Artie tries to be a tough guy in the whole show. This is one of them.
I love
Sorry, three times when he goes after
he talks
after what's his name
He
at his house when he shows up at his house.
Yeah, he talks stuff about the coach too. But Artie is so funny when someone sneaks up behind him and stuff. He runs like I did at the Green Day Free Show when there was a riot in the middle of it, and I got a beer in my head. I was like, ah, and I cried and I ran. I know I went to that show with you because I remember there was a lightning storm before it started, and we were all. I
don't know if we were there together. We weren't there together. I was at the show though.
I feel like we all went into the subway. We didn't hang out at the show together, but I feel like we all rode the train in together to that free show.
Yeah.
Where there was a riot on the Commons or the Hat Shell, and with the free Green Day show. I'm glad that
that's ridiculous right there.
Yeah, Artie. Yeah, Artie is
your boy. I take back everything I said about him being the most.
He's amazing, dude.
Find a picture of that actor.
I've said it before. He's got Ed Norton for like Honeymooners fans. Second Honeymooners reference of the night, I guess. Oh no, that was before the show started. I was talking about it. But he's got Ed Norton upside. Like he's so good with the physical, hilarious comedy. And we skipped over it, or I skipped over it because I was running out to check on the dog. But we were being a little hard on Sill's wife there, but I like her in that scene, and I like that people put the priest in his place because that dude is when he goes, Carmela, am I a snorer or whatever it is? Yes, he is. He's a horrible person. Not a horrible person, but he's
on this show. Listen, on this show, it's all relative. He's not a horrible person in the world of the Sopranos.
No, but he's a bad priest.
Yeah. Yes, he's a bad priest.
If I'm Carmela Furio house flipping show. We need a wife swap, Phil, which of the 35 Walking Dead spinoffs are you looking forward to most? I've written most of it off as well. I think the one I'm looking forward to most is the Rick and the Michonne one. I think that's the only one Joe and I are going to actually cover, and then we might talk about all the other series because we're going to have to split a subscription. Okay, in a funny episode, and they almost play it for comedy, which is really fucked up. No, it's dark and it's sad, but this is one of the saddest things if you actually think about what's going on right here.
Oh, yeah.
That's ever happened in The Sopranos. The fact that he's yelling in traffic where his wife is the accident that caused. He sums it up good. This is
and even though Steve Sharp is the biggest piece of shit in real life out of any of the characters, he's by far the nicest person on the show.
And we've said this a couple of times because more people have watched Talking Sopranos, so you know who Steve Sharippa is. And he's one of the best actors in the world because he makes Bobby likable, and Steve's so gloriously unlikable, like in a funny way, unlikable. But I will also say this is the episode that I think shooed Bobby or the actor and Bobby being more of a main character down the road. Because he pulled off some tough stuff in this episode, and it's believable. When he's freaking out and he's losing stuff, you're not watching that and going like if Skip was trying to pull that off or something. He really pulls it off, and he does some good acting work in this episode. And hearing him talk a little bit about his process, he said he just put himself in a shitty place all week. He was like, but yeah, he's one of the best actors in the world because he's really kind of a dickbag. It's kind of like me doing this show, Matt. I'm really like a miserable son of a bitch, but I'm always out here smiling. It's like 2 seconds before we start the show. It's like, okay, let's get started. Okay, everybody, hi, I'm here. Yeah. But is this where he turns to Tony? He's like, I need your, we need your leadership, Tone.
Yeah, I can't turn the other cheek on this.
Again, a lot of this dialogue does sound, now that I know, sounds like it would be coming better out of Paulie's mouth.
Oh, 100%. Because Paulie would totally let this get in the way of him doing his quote-unquote business.
Yes. Oh, like anything would. I mean, that's what they've shown through 3 seasons to prove to us about the character of Paulie. Don't worry, Corey Mitchell. We keep this open discussion, my friend. Did you all watch that Amazon Prime show called The Boys? I dig it. Fritz. It's one of my favorite shows on television right now. I think I did do a discussion about the first season. I'm not sure if I talked about the second season. Joe and I will be covering that show episode by episode when it comes back this next time.
See, this is where it would be different because he wouldn't be able to, like, Paulie couldn't say that line there.
No. And It's interesting that they get. I mean, I'm not saying that Sil doesn't pull this off. It just comes off more ridiculous because everything we know about Sil up until this point is almost that he's a chill guy. And now we've seen 2 episodes where he's acting out of character, uptight a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the only time you see him lose it is, well, where he acts sort of a way in public that he shouldn't, is when he shows up to get the girl that's sleeping with Ralphie and like,
oh yeah, and he
drag her out to the car.
Yeah. I own you. You're an investment.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting scene too, because especially when we think what's to come later, I forget how many episodes away we are from it. But yeah, all spoilers here. Tony eventually just whips this guy with his belt when he finds out because this guy right now, it's almost like something that. It's a moment before an acting, they call it, Matt. Like, we don't know what actor, when you go into a scene, are supposed to be thinking about what's happening the moment before, what's really on your mind. Yeah. If you could play this scene over and think that Zellman knows right here that he's sleeping with Tony's ex-Gumar, and he's feeling high of the horse right now. He's there snipping his nose hairs, feeling all.
Is he sleeping with her already?
Yeah, because it's this season where Tony finds out about it.
Right, well, he finds out. I didn't know that was...
So it probably is happening at this point right now.
I have minor technical difficulties. I'm not leaving, though.
Oh, no worries. Okay. I'm not one to attack fictional television therapists, but this woman sucks. This woman's the worst. Janice, let me support every one of your I mean, she's good for... She's just not able to battle Janice's bullshit. And Janice has her wrapped around her finger, and I'm a believer.
Yeah, but don't you also know this, that Janice would keep going to a therapist until she found one that would let her do that. You know Janice. I guarantee you, this isn't her first therapist, and or her second, nor her third, nor her fourth, nor her fifth.
Matt, I would agree with you, and I'm the same way, except I do the opposite. I look for therapists I can't steamroll. You know, like I want to find tough people that can put me in my place really easy, because that's the only way you're going to learn. And so my therapist now is tough as nails. She'll let me go, but when I need to be shut down, she'll shut me down right quick. And Janice, to use the expression again, has her hand right up this woman's ass, is completely controlling her. She's only telling her part of the side. It's like the therapist in high school where I was practicing my lying with the therapist. That's what Janice is doing. Tony does that to a certain extent with Melfi too, but she's smart enough to catch it.
And he doesn't have any like history of like he had never. It's not like Janice has been going to
since
day 30 years.
Day frickin' one. Ralphie is.
This is a pretty shitty scene.
It's a shitty scene. The best part of this scene is the fact of what he just said right there. I'm the TNA. Oh, I can see. There's a talent of someone that can play sleazy really well, and Joey Pants plays sleazy better than 70-80% of the actors in the world. He can just play sleazy really good. There's just very convincing. And
you honestly believe that Ralphie likes being called a whore with a gun?
I believe every second of it. I'm questioning if Joey Pants really likes it, because he's so believable in the situation.
Yeah.
I like Dr. Melfi too, because I feel like, again, she, over time, at the beginning she doesn't, but by the end, not the very end, but by this point in time in the series, season 3, season 4, season 5, they kind of do a U-turn with her in the end of season 6. But through those, she has a firm command on her relationship with Tony, and she knows the right opportunities to call him out on his bullshit. But the first couple of seasons, I would say, especially season 1, and up until the point where he tells her she has to go on the lam and all that kind of stuff, I think she is a little intimidated, and she says later on, I was kind of attracted to you in that period. She's a little like eggshelly with him. But starting where she comes back, where she's seeing patients in the hotel, I think it's the beginning of season 2, after the Junior War is over, she kind of starts giving him the business that peaks around this time in the series, around season 4. Isn't the point
like that's the dumbest thing right here, that he doesn't know that? Like it's common.
He does, and the way the actor says that line is really unbelievable too. It's a bad line. It's a bad line read. Yeah. It seems like oh, this is going to be bad PR. I need to act better. Tuda fucking Lou, Luna. Isn't the point of the whole series was that mob criminality is immune to therapy? Yes, they did bring that in as the fact because, and we'll talk about this as we get later in the series, starting with season 5 into season 6, David Chase was pissed off that people liked Tony so much. And he wanted to make sure he showed you the reality of what's true about
there was an episode a few episodes ago that we watched that I think it was the shittiest Tony's been as a human up to this point. The one where he like essentially cons Junior to selling him that piece of property because he knows it's about to go off, and he does 2 or 3 other things in that episode that are just backstabbing, shitty things to people. Because I'm a huge Tony apologist, and that episode really killed me.
I agree, and I think it's slowly creeping in, but I think really the evil Tony comes post his season 5 culmination, what he has to do in season 5. I think everything that happens after that, even though you can argue about how well Tony B was introduced, but I think the conclusion of the Tony B storyline is the impacting moment that kind of changes Tony, and then him getting what happens to him at the end of season. Oh, all spoilers exist. Him getting shot in season 6 at the end with Junior is
season 5.
No, I think it's the end of season 5. Is it the end of season 5? I thought
because 6A is when he's in a coma, and 6B is like the end of the show.
Oh, I feel like it happens in like the second episode or the first episode of 6A, but I could be wrong. We'll see.
No, because I think the cliffhanger was like that was the end of the episode, and then you wait and see season 6 what happens. But again, I haven't watched. I don't know exactly what episode that is.
Either way, that was the final brick in the wall. Tragically played by Bobby here. If Bobby wasn't such a comedic character at this point in the series, someone you made fun of, I would have felt more watching this. And if you knew the character of Karen, but if you break this down about what actually happened, this is some tragic shit. And do you know what's even more tragic than this, Matt?
I don't.
His next partner's Janice.
I know. That manipulative. I'm not going to use the word.
She wants to suck the goodness with him and like be good in shine retrospect. And this is an interesting scene. It's a sad.
Well, dude, she goes from Richie to the Jesus guy to Ralphie
to Bobby.
It's like it's insane.
This is an interesting scene that shows you again the separation of how Bobby was different than everybody else.
Yeah.
And how they all are going to take, and it leads into what we see next. As much as all families do that with the food, and it's very much it's Italian, Jewish, Greek.
No, it's a Jewish thing. It's a Greek thing.
It's a Greek thing. It's an everything thing. You feed people, and when someone dies, I think part of
my wife's brother just died. It's a Mexican thing.
Yeah,
everyone had the food.
It's a human thing. Like distract. It's the shell and the distract. It's like a magic trick. It's like just eat, drink. It's healthier than drinking or doing anything else. And just eat. Yeah, Janice is a piece of work, Luna. Piece of freaking work. So Ralphie again playing on his basic friendship with Johnny and Johnny not having any of it. Another thing I want to point out, Tony calls him Count Chocula here. It's kind of weird. I guess Johnny does kind of look like Count Chocula.
He does.
It is Romulan ale. It's illegal in the Federation, but I do like to drink it sometimes. It's not really Romulan ale, but I want to make some Romulan ale. I haven't made it in a while. Blue Carousel, coconut rum, and Sprite, or whatever your lemon lime drink of choice is, will make a blue, glowing, bubbling amazingness that I got on some Star Trek website in early 2000s. Another line from this episode that just happened here. I know someone's opening their mouth and it's costing me money. That's one of those, like if you see one clip from The Sopranos, sometimes they'll show that clip of James Gandolfini talking. There's a lot of quoted lines from this particular episode. Rosalie, she's awesome. This is the scene that made me even more of a Rosalie. Like the way she handles the situation is like.
And what a piece of shit he is here. Like, just
Yeah. Horrible. Horrible. He has, he's truly, we use this term too much when talking about the Sopranos, psychopath. No empathy. He doesn't have.
he has no. Like, Tony does have empathy.
Yeah.
We agree on that.
Yeah.
He has none.
None.
He's absolutely.
But he does get it later. He gets sympathy. He has sympathy. He has sympathy, but not empathy. Because when it happens to him, he can't feel bad. But when it doesn't, he has no ability to conceptualize someone else's feelings. And that feeds into, just to go into the whole theme of this season and last season, sympathy for the devil, that Ralph is the devil. He can get sympathy. Sympathy and some pain. You can have the sympathy.
How much of that is nature versus nurture with him, do you think?
I mean, they get into that a little bit.
Because he's with people that by default don't have a lot of empathy, but a lot of them are much more human than Ralph is. Like, Ralph literally has like a personality disorder that there's no med in the world would fix.
Right. I mean, I would say in this particular case with Ralph, because we see the litmus test of other people that grew up in similar, probably horrible situations as Ralph. There is an episode where Tony kind of investigates that. I think it's before he steals Ralphie's next girlfriend, or is that the next girlfriend that he gets, and then he ends up stealing. You stole my horse and my girlfriend later this season. I think he starts looking into Ralph's past. There's an episode where he starts asking him about it, like are you did you like get along with your dad or whatever? But I mean, I think Ralph is a special kind of fucked up.
I think, like, you know, there's a chance if Sil had grown up somewhere else, if Tony had grown up somewhere else, they don't have this lifestyle. I think that Ralphie is still. He's still like. He'd be institutionalized in a different place, or would be in jail by this point.
Oh, by the way, Ralphie just sealed his death warrant by buying that horse. We got Fernandez T in the live chat. Yes, he is immune to therapy. Phil. Hey, Phil, watching the Dodgers game with my peeps. Just popping in to say hi. Go Dodgers. And I hope you're doing good, Fernandez T. Thank you for popping in the live motherfucking chat. Have a good one, Kimmy. Thank you for checking on in. Make sure you hit that like button and say hi. Pop in and leave a comment on the video. Say hi and help it spread to more people. The other thing that The Sopranos had an amazing ability to do that I would only compare to the show Scrubs, they knew the exact right amount of time to use their background stars, or and I'm not going to say background actors or background extras or secondary characters, because they became stars. Hesh isn't used often, but he's such a great character, and this is one of the this is such an amazing Hesh scene in a fucked up episode.
This is just so weird though, because like we never know who this guy is,
and we never see him again.
Known each other again. It's
all we know,
unless you watch Seinfeld, because he's in Seinfeld a couple episodes.
Who's he in the?
I think he's the. Do you want to wear the ribbon?
He's the Puerto Rican Day Parade.
Yeah, episode. And they're like Steal the Anwar. I think that's the same guy.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh, it is. You're right. But and I know his names are the name of the sandwich. But I love Jerry Arbach. Is that no? That's a different actor. I forget what this actor's name is, but he's really good. Hesh. What's Hesh's name?
Jerry Orbach is the guy.
Is
from Law
Baby?
Order.
Yeah, don't put baby
in a corner.
Corner of the corner. Yeah, I know.
And Lumiere in Beauty and the Beast for.
Fantastic show. Sorry, I said that like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I ruined the show. Mark, I made it a not fantastic show because I couldn't shut up. Ralph of the Simpsons was even wilder. Ralph did have a change. Maybe it's the name. Ralph Malph was also pretty fucked up.
Ralphie from the Simpsons.
That was Ralph as a young kid. That was his upbringing.
I eated the purple berries. They taste like burning. Yeah.
So here we go. Here we fucking go. Let me get my popcorn ready. It's time for a Junior Soprano scene. He's fucking great. Well, I know Bobby's wife died. I didn't show up to the funeral. I didn't show up to the father's funeral either. But I was wondering if Bobby's picking me up tomorrow. Just wondering. Not to mention that it's always awesome to see Carmela in scenes with Junior, because they don't happen often because of their falling out in season 1. Yeah. So they don't share a lot of moments together. A lot of times it's in a phone scene like this. And Carmela has such passively built up hate for Tony that she can't let out. But she can let all of that passive hate out on Junior, and she gives it to him. A lot of, like, yes, she hates him for trying to kill Tony, but a lot of that is just her being pissed off at Tony, and he's a Soprano too. You fucking Sopranos in your tempers and your selfish natures. You fucking Sopranos.
And he knows Corrado's old school enough that he can't insult her
at all,
he just
dude.
Wouldn't.
At all.
No. Not because he's scared of Tony.
No.
Just because he knows that's like that you don't do that.
He'll keep calling her sweetheart. He'll keep being sweet to her. He doesn't know any other way. That's just who he is because he's old school, even though he's a fucking miserable, selfish prick.
Old school, Janice. Yep.
And just the way he looks there standing in the hallway, I guess I have to have that old piece of shit drive me because Bobby's wife died. Fuck my life. You know, that's what the way Junior's thinking. It's fuck my life. Bobby's wife died, so I don't get a ride from Bobby.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, and Bobby, that's going to be bad for Bobby. I don't care.
How like
this is one of the most uncomfortable scenes I've ever watched.
Oh yeah, like read the room, dude. Like everyone knows she wants no part of this right now.
Absolutely, Jen Hack. She is using a transference on anger. It's like if somebody was pissed at my best friend Dutch, and they'd yell at me when they couldn't yell at him. You know, like
I'll listen. I can get pissed at Dutch all the time. I can yell at you if you want.
yeah, you can get that out with me if you want. This scene's very uncomfortable because Janice is obviously uncomfortable about this, but she's trying to rationalize it in her head to be able to like it, and then she's like, "Oh, you count on it."
But she wants to just like do coke with them and do weird kinky shit with them. She doesn't want to have to show up to family dinner.
No, it was a perfect situation to be involved with a guy like Ralph. Someone else is doing the hard work, so to speak. You just get to fuck him in the ass with a vibrator and call him your bitch. I mean. Oh, great to see Celebrity Bikini in the live motherfucking chat. But again, this is a very uncomfortable but well-put scene. Both actors have good chemistry. And this, we get into more of our main storyline in this episode. Very subtle with Hesh's friend, who comes back later. I think we see him in Miami later with Little Carmine or something. But about how the bar mitzvah gift. The bar mitzvah gift's broken and Hesh lost the receipt.
It's so fucking stupid,
dude. It's so trivial. It's you could tell Michael Imperioli wrote this shit. And then we get this guy, the chief, who again, it's just the hilarious touch on this scene is that they get to where he's
Chief Doug Smith.
Chief Doug Smith here totally manipulates Tony Soprano and all of his boys. He gets one over on Tony here, and that pisses Tony off.
But Tony knows that's what's going to happen. He knows that there's no he knows at this point here that if he's going into this for Sil, that why else would the guy go out of his way to do this? There's no need for that, unless he's going to have Tony do him a huge favor.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. But she's a whore. Just when they thought I was out, they pulled me back in. What's interesting about that particular line from The Godfather, and is said a couple of times by Sil, and I think somebody else, a few other people in this series of The Sopranos. Yeah,
George Costanza says it, but
Costanza says it too with Khan.
Let's stay focused here, yeah.
But what's interesting about that from a Godfather standpoint is it's the one positive that came from the third movie. If you asked most people just name a quote from The Godfather, offer you can't refuse, they might name just when you thought it was out, you want to pull in. Everyone trashes the third movie. Reasonably speaking, the third movie kind of 90% balls, but it does have a couple of good lines and a couple of good moments, and one of those is that line by Al Pacino that is one of the most quoted Godfather lines, and a big quoted Godfather lines on The Sopranos especially, where Sil says it 3 times, and I think one other character says it once, and George Costanza says it. So, and it's from the shitty Godfather 3. I love everyone else cooks these homemade meals. Janice brings the KFC for our product placement for the episode.
And she's still being a piece of shit. My Bible group had a potluck last night. That's why I wasn't.
Yeah, she's
you.
Yeah, yo whore.
No, you were violating.
Yeah, you were whoring out Ralphie. Is what you were doing.
Yeah, you were putting him on the street corner and just.
And right here, it's so disingenuous the way she.
Don't ever go against the family. That would be another line.
Yeah,
but
don't ever go.
Focus.
Don't ever go into the family. Take the gun, leave the cannolis. Or no, take the cannolis, drop the gun, take the cannolis.
No, leave the cannoli.
No, you take the cannolis.
You want to leave the. Can we focus on this? Let's
you leave the gun, take the cannolis. No, that Janice takes all of this and she uses it as a chance to.
She's never seen any of her brother's friends or associates.
No, but I don't think her intentions are genuine. I think she's looking at it as a way of saving herself through this guy. She doesn't fall for him in this moment, I don't think, as she verbalizes. I think it's more she wants to suck that goodness out. She wants to be good.
Well, she just wants to not be a fucking mess, I think. And he's, I don't know. You're right though. She's looking to save herself somehow
through him. It's not good intentions with Janice. I guess is what I'm saying. Even though generally speaking,
never had good intentions.
No, but even though generally speaking, their relationship was healthy compared to her other relationships, she didn't kill him. She didn't kill him or knock him down a flight of stairs. Absolutely leave the cannolis. Just finished up Better Call Saul again. Might binge Sopranos next and catch up. Awesome, that would be great. I'm thinking about doing another Better Call Saul watch at some point in time. I can't wait to talk about that show again. I'm also very excited for the new Vince Gilligan show that's going to be coming to Apple Plus in the next couple of years, starring Ray Seahorn Kim from Better Call Saul. Not in the Breaking Bad universe, but a Vince Gilligan original show that I can't wait to see what he does. But yeah, you broke my heart. Fredo, leave the cannoli. Okay, so this is the scam here, where Chief Joe Smith, what was his name again? Chief
Doug Smith.
Doug Smith. I was close. I was fucking close. He
had an awakening and found his 1/12th.
1/12th Native American, and then he bought Foxwoods. He never called this guy. He never fucking called this guy. And he says to Tony, I can't call him, but why don't you come down here and party on me? And when they go down there to party, and he hits him up to get Frankie. And we'll hear it at the end of the episode, but just to get that over with so we don't miss it. So it's a manipulation to get them to call Frankie Valli that they're having trouble booking at Foxwoods, and they need Tony to grease the wheel, so to speak, to get Frankie Valli over there. And this is the only reason why he even agreed to Tony's meeting. He's like, probably calculating, did like a calculation of that.
It's also never bad to just sort of kind of being good with the mafia if you're in the casino.
If you can be mafia adjacent and friendly, it's a smart move. This is even worse, where she says the whole thing. This is another famous line from this episode. And I've used this talking about myself. Phil, handle this with the sensitivity and the calmness that you're known for. Be not clumsy. Handle this like the clumsy oaf that. Matt, I realized that you were. I mean, some of our other friends like Scott K and Justin B, though dudes like that might a little because they were here a few years earlier than you. But you have and Chris and a couple of those other people of me in some of my clumsiest moments. You've seen some of my biggest flaws. You saw me in the sing Star Spangled Banner. Oh, no, were you in the fifth? Yeah, you saw me sing the Star Spangled Banner in front of the school. Oh yeah, because the Constitution. Yep, absolutely. You saw me slip on a skateboard at the fashion show in junior high school. You saw me get pantsed in the I don't know if you saw that in the gymnasium after one of the junior high school dances. You were there for all of my crazy clumsy moments. How may Kim Wexler and Associates? How may I direct your call? So this is a fun scene. It's a little bit more of a classic Sopranos partying kind of scene where they're getting comps, they're getting free food, they're it's all comedy. It's like a lot of it is just one-liner after one-liner. I was gonna say like Comedy Jam. It's basically just a bunch of like O's. Oh, and I think they just said that wasn't even intentional. I think I went, and someone was saying,
it was well timed, Phil.
Yeah, wasn't it a pretty good time, though? So here's where Tony gets ganked. You don't see Tony get ganked like this often in the series, Matt. And I think it's interesting when you do, because for the most part, they don't play Tony as the smartest mafia guy in the world, but they play him as the smartest guy in the show, right? Like no one outmaneuvers Tony on this.
I think Johnny does, but that's maybe it. Johnny Sack is smooth. Johnny Sack is
He's
really smooth. The way he fixes everything between Ralphie and Tony earlier on when they're ready to kill each other.
He's smooth, but if it came to like strategies in a war type situation, I think New York beats them with numbers, not necessarily stratego.
Sure.
So obviously, in this episode, you needed to have this douchebag. They play him for comedy, and in this episode where they're satirizing people like him, they obviously have to have him in there for a scene. Here we go, where Janice shows the sensitivity and calmness that she's known for, Matt.
Yes. And unfortunately, not even close to the most violent thing she's done.
No.
To a boyfriend, to a guy she's... It was Richie that she used to hold the gun to his head when they were fucking, right?
Yes.
If I remember correctly? Yeah.
Yeah, but I do want to mention that it is on the same flight of stairs he falls down that Richie got shot on, I believe.
No. They were in their new house.
Oh, they were?
Remember they bought a house? He was like showing them, Tony, this house costs such and such. It costs this much to do the landscaping. How much does yours cost?
I remember. I remember now. I remember.
She's just looking for a reason to be Janice here.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. She's looking for the excuse to break up. He wore his fucking shoes. She beats the living shit out of him, too. No, what, Matt? Why do I feel like she did kill Richie in the house because Livia was there. Remember, Tony shows up.
Oh no, you're 100% right. Livia was upstairs. Maybe they must have been in the process of buying that house. They go and look at the house together.
They did because they were dancing. She was dancing with the sun and stuff.
She gives Livia an extra couple of drugs.
Clozapam or something.
Yeah.
So Ralphie's all bark, no bite. He'd never touch her.
He can't.
Yeah, she knows she's protected. And here we go. Matt wanted to talk about this at the beginning.
This is one of the funniest.
This is one of the best Tony monologues ever in the back and forth here. It's just great.
Just Christopher and Silvio playing off him, and just the looks that Patsy and Christopher give each other.
Yeah, Patsy's great. Patsy doesn't say a lot in this scene, but he's great. He's essential in this scene. Obviously, in reality, it would be Paulie and Christopher in the back of this car. Like if he wasn't injured, if Paulie wasn't injured.
Maybe we gotta just whack this prick. Who the fuck are you kidding? All you thought about was blackjack.
Phil, we're lined up perfectly, by the way.
I'm turning it up a little bit. That's awesome. I thought so, the way you were reacting to stuff. Sorry, I'm just going to sit back and watch this.
That's right. That's why you butthole me, goddammit. It's bad luck with Frankie's manager, so the chief wants me to call him directly. As payback for him reaching out to Red Clay. Well, you're gonna make the fucking call.
I don't give a fuck.
Oh, shit. You're making a fucking call.
They usually do these in Melfi scenes, but this is awesome when they do it this way. They sometimes do scenes like this at the end, but a lot of times episodes end with Christopher's look right there. I love how he keeps going though. He still just keeps going. Oh, groups. Group. Right here. This is so good. He died. Stevie Van Zandt. It's fucking comedy. Which is a callback to a therapy session he had with Melfi, where he was talking about missing Gary Cooper. Not for nothing, Tone. This is what really happened. Stevie Van Zandt is like, we get
whatever the fuck.
Like, he's known Tony for his whole life. We're ignoring Many Saints. He's not affected by Tony freaking out. This is like you dealing with me going crazy. Like, you know me so well that it's not.
Yeah.
Point is, Gary Cooper, the real Gary Cooper, or anybody named Cooper, never suffered like the Italians. You met a guy like him, they fuck everybody else.
1 second, dog.
This is good. People can hear this too.
Yeah, we can hear it through.
If he was American around nowadays, he'd be a member of some victims group.
I'm just talking every few seconds so we don't get copyright.
With the gays, whatever the fuck.
He was gay. I
You listening to me?
That's the line that's me.
That's the line.
Yeah, that's the line.
Did you? Except for maybe the feds? Grandparents got spit on because they were from Calabria. Let me ask you a question. All the good things you got in your life.
This is just a really great monologue.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. I can hear
Say
it.
the answer. The answer is no. You got a smart kid who like to went to college. You got a wife who's a piece of ass. Did she work when you married her? You own one of the most profitable topless bars in North Jersey. Now, did you get all this shit because you're Italian? No, you got it because you're you, because you're smart, because you're whatever the fuck. What the fuck is our self-esteem? I mean, that shit doesn't come from Columbus or the Godfather or Chef fucking Boyardee.
Chef Boyardee.
Fucking Boyardee.
Tiptoe around the Indians, though, don't we? You can't call our teams the Braves or the Tomahawks. Oh, you take it up with Frankie Valli when you talk.
I'm like Matt's camera now.
And
And
that's
it ends in such a abrupt way too. Like take it up with Frankie Valli when you talk
Yeah.
to him. Mic drop. Bam. It's such a perfectly written monologue. And oh really? You're laying up there on the couch? It's funny as this dog is new here and hasn't laid up on this couch yet, but now that sees me doing the post, it's like I'm gonna lay up on that couch. Yeah, you little motherfucker. You've been waiting for me to be gone this whole time. Are you out of your bloody Vulcan mind? I must say, Matt, having watched this episode twice in 2 days now, I like it more the more I watch it. I find it, I laughed a lot. I watched this whole episode tonight. I wasn't looking away from it, from watching it so soon. I was looking forward to certain lines to talk about you. So to go to our question, is it one of the worst Soprano episodes? If we're talking about dramatic tightness and stories that make complete sense, it's not high-end top tier. If we're doing a tier list thing, it's not S tier or A tier or even B, but it's C. It's not D or F, or it's not like a D or F Sopranos episode. I'd say it's a C Sopranos episode.
I think it's one of the few episodes though, and this is the one knock, that it ever gets where it feels like it's being preachy in any way, shape, or form, because it's coming you from four or five different directions. There's the thing at the church with the person out there bringing up Italian Americans and what people think of them, and then there's all the stuff with the Native Americans, and then there's what AJ's reading in school, and like it's all sort of pushing that narrative, and that's the only time. Because shows did that, especially in the 80s and 90s, constantly.
Yeah, there was an after-school special element to it all, and
I can't think of another episode of The Sopranos where it feels like there's that after-school special.
And I think part of that is because of the fact that this was an intentional jab at the Italian Defamation Organization, or whatever they're called, to sort of combat some of the shit talk that they were giving the Sopranos at the time. Let's see if there's any notable little factoids about this particular episode written by Michael Imperioli and by somebody else as well, who basically was more the story, like brought the story to them, and then Michael kind of wrote the script. When Carmela describes one of her acquaintances as Two-Face, the camera lingers on Adriana. The camera used similarly lingered on Big Pussy back when he was an FBI informant. Paulie is still talking to Johnny Sack from prison, setting up the main storyline for next couple of episodes. The stair thing, there are still a few notable incidents that occur in that staircase yet to come in season 5 and season 6. In the entry for Pile My 405, we take a look at how Chase is using two films, High Noon and Rio Bravo, to clearly certain notions of individualism. There are, I guess, some starting in this episode. A line from Were You Always Italian, a book by Mario Laurino, who gets story credit for Christopher. Maria Laurino sums up the basic theme of this hour. Ethnic truth is a muddy conceit in America, often be held through ersatz. I don't know. The words that this writer uses are beyond me, which makes sense. You know, they're writing for The Sopranos. And they're writing books that are bestsellers, and they're using words like ersatz, and just for purposes, it's spelled ersatz. How would you pronounce that, Matt?
Ersatz.
Ersatz. Yeah. So okay. So yeah, exactly. That's basically what I said.
I mean, I could be wrong on it, but
Yeah. I've never heard that word before, but I guess it's a word. But yeah. Okay.
Mater used as a substitute, typically an inferior one for something else.
Yeah, so basically what you're doing is you're using intellectualized words to try to make yourself sound better, but you're using sub words. Even that's not a real word. It's a word made up by smart people to try to sound smarter. Go shut the fuck up and write an episode. No, I'm kidding. I'm whatever.
Do you remember, have you ever seen the clips of, it's wild they say it here, of Trump from, when this is not getting political, this is just a video anyone can go watch. He's testifying in front of a courtroom, telling people when they were opening like Native American casinos back when it's probably 30, 40 years ago at this point, 90s, late 80s. And he's in there like, they don't look like Indians to me. And he's like in the courtroom saying that. And that's the same thing that Sill says to Chief Redclay. He's like, or not Chief Redclay, Chief Doug Smith.
Chief Doug
he says to Chief Doug Smith, you don't look that Indian to me.
So yeah.
So
no, I was just gonna say. So what is your what would be your grade on this particular episode of The Sopranos? S.
So you said it's not one of the worst ones, but I can't think of I don't think of really bad episodes of The Sopranos. Like, well, maybe like season 1, but like after they know what they're doing,
No, I mean, I think some of the worst episodes are maybe, like I said, that hit for hit, a hit is a bad episode.
Which one is the? Oh yeah,
that's the one where Adrian.
Anytime they try to have like live music played in The Sopranos, it's absolutely awful. All the bands that ever play in Adriana's club,
Crazy Horse, yeah, are really good bands.
Yeah.
There's the episode, as I said at the end, where Tony,
Hit is a Hit almost feels preachy too. That one does.
A little bit. And then there's the episode where Tony's father's groomer shows up towards the end. Some people don't like the Tony's gambling episode, Chasing It, later on, because he suddenly has a gambling addiction out of nowhere. It pops up. But I think it's a good episode. I just understand that Tony's acting out of character. They wanted to show how scummy these guys can be when they're up against it with money. And even Tony, who's someone we don't see have a gambling addiction, in Chasing It, when he's up against it with money, he'll push too far, and that could show how his moods go. Luna, we'll take a couple comments before we wrap things up here tonight. Luna says, all through the show, Tony and fam blamed crime on other industries like drugs and car theft, a little hypocritical. And the show made sure they always showed you that from a hypocritical lens. No better than in tonight's episode where our guys were made to look like idiots, right? I mean, but basically to the point where Tony just had to slap his proverbial word dick across Cecily's face at the end and show him how ridiculous he was sounding.
Well, in even the beginning when they're talking about people sitting around collecting welfare all day not doing anything, where that's literally what they do.
That's literally their job description.
Yep.
Sit there and do nothing all day.
It's to get as much money as they can with doing no work.
Yep. And absolutely, Jen, I would never imagine such a thing ever existing. But I'm not going to say it out loud. That's for damn sure. So, Matt.
They were racist, the mafia?
No, they're perfect angels. Now, coming to our next couple of episodes, the next time we do this, which will be probably within 2 weeks, we're gonna try to do these.
I am at a conference all week next week, but I am around the week after.
Okay, so we're gonna do it the week after, and we're gonna do 2 episodes next time. We're gonna do the episodes. I forget what the next one's called, and then the movie's Pie. The next one after that's called Pie Oh My. But we're gonna be doing episodes 4 and 5 together, because we're gonna at least try. Because I don't. If you came in person, I remember we got through some of the end episodes of season 3. Part of the reason why it's a blur is there's a few episodes that exist, Matt, of our podcast that we were doing like 3 or 4 episodes at a time. But it was when you were coming to my house in Salem. There's one where we had like Alan and Craig and my cousin Pete were there too.
Pete, yeah.
And I think one, Steph was on one with us where you came by. Other than that, too. I don't know if Joe was on one, but I feel like he was. But I don't know.
I don't think he was.
He wasn't? Okay.
Might have been on one of them.
Maybe.
I don't think so.
No, I think the only time, I don't think I've ever had you and Joe on the same podcast.
No, and one time we almost did was when you were playing his quotes about the Star Wars movie, and I was like,
yeah, that was the
he's complaining about the seat. He's like, I had to keep looking up. It's like, dude, you sound like an old man bitching about your seat in the movie theater.
Yeah, that's the closest, but I don't think we've ever actually had you and Joe on together, which is weird because Joe and Matt are, excellent friends in real life.
We've known each other for
yeah.
I hate being able to say 25 years, but yeah.
Yeah, 25 years. Like it's even.
I lied. It's about 30 years at this point.
And what are we, like 35, 40 years?
Close to it. It's probably.
Oh no, because
Phil's more. I mean, Joe's more like 28 years. I knew him when I was. Like
you were third grade, right?
Fifth grade.
Fifth grade. Okay, so no, it's more that it's 35 years.
It's probably like 88 or so, 87, 88.
Yeah, I've known you
1987. So
I've known you 35 to 40, somewhere between 35 and 40 years.
Way too long. Like it's gross that we can say that.
It's fucking disgusting. It really is. My beard is going grayer as the more I talk about this fact.
Oh, I'm totally gray. It's awful.
Oh, it's disgusting. But what's not disgusting is that we're going to finish this damn Sopranos thing, and we're going to finish season 4 this year, or we're going to at least damn try. But my point was, in person, I would do multiple episodes like that, but I don't want to do one of these where we're in different spots more than 2 episodes at a time. But we are going to double up and do a couple of episodes for a few of these season 4 ones so that hopefully the math will work out. And by the end of the year, we will finish this year off somewhere towards the end of December with the episode White Caps for season 4. That's my goal for the Sopranos cast. And we'll see if we can stick to it. I'm proud of us right now, Matt. This is I know this is the best we've been since early COVID. This is good. This is great.
Yeah.
I thank you, Luna. We appreciate that. We're babies, I tell you. Watching Mel Brooks after this, History of the World. History of the World is a great movie. Are you a Mel Brooks movie fan, Matt?
I've never seen History of the World. I can tell you that. Unfortunately,
you've probably
I've seen Blazing Saddles a million times.
You've probably
I've seen it. I lied. I've seen History of the World.
You've probably seen Spaceballs, right?
I saw Spaceballs in the movie theater. Yep.
You probably saw. But
yeah, I've seen History of the World. I lied. I've definitely seen it.
Yeah, that's probably, even though I know it's not the tightest one, it might be my favorite one. I especially when I was a kid with the weed scene and stuff like that. When do you think the Roman Empire? Fuck it. It's very funny. It's very funny. Not a day over 21. My beard begs to differ, but I will take it. And we're gonna go out on that. Not a day over 21, Matt. I have freckles and pimples that have lasted 21 years.
Oh my god. You guys should have seen Phil when he was 21. Phil was a stud when he was younger.
I don't know what happened, Matt. I don't know what happened, but I was also for whatever it's worth. Not that I shouldn't have had it, but I was probably like 40 pounds heavier, like growing up for the most part. It wasn't until I got really poor that I like sort of shed it off the last couple of pounds. But you
walk a lot now too.
I walk like 40, 50 miles a week, easy.
Yeah.
So that probably did it as well. Because I was looking at a couple of pictures from some poker games we were playing at the Garish house. I don't know if you were at one of those.
I was not at a Garish house.
But it was Ben and Elia and a couple of other people in the pictures. And I was looking at myself and I'm like, oh my goodness, I look. And that was probably right around when I was like 21, 22 years old or something like that, around that age. And I was, I didn't necessarily lie. I was like, hey, I could just, be that. I like the way I look better now, but maybe I'm just, drinking the Kool-Aid. Young Frankenstein is an amazing movie. I'll get mad.
Yeah, well, that's like artistically a great movie. That's a great movie outside of it being a great Mel Brooks movie.
I don't know if you came to the FDT show that we played at the Good Times Emporium, but at that show we played.
Of course, I did.
We played Young Frankenstein in the background while we played.
Huh. I was at a couple. You played there more than once.
Yeah, but I think it was the first time we played there. We played Young Frankenstein, and then we had like Brendan D from Nahant do some video graphic work for us at one point in time on that thing. That was a fun stage, in a fun place. We were thinking about we're thinking about pulling out an FDT song if you ever come to a two-piece trip show, or we might.
You know, I would love that, and I'll scream for any of them. Not the one I used to scream for. I don't want that song, but like
we couldn't do that without Al. But I think we might end up doing Pace. But anyways, so. Here we go. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. Matt and I will be back in a couple of weeks. I'll be back next week for something. I'll try to get Joe or Tony over here, or you'll have me alone for another 3-hour Babble Fest. But we'll try to pick something fun to do. Luna had a couple of good suggestions, maybe some underrated shows. Maybe I might do a Star Trek tier list. I've been talking about that as well. But either way, I'll be back next week for something, if not before that. Matt will be back in a couple of weeks to talk about 2 episodes of The Sopranos. Thank you, Matt. Thank you to everyone in the live chat. And if you haven't already and you enjoyed this, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. Share the channel with a friend. Actually, wait a second, Matt. What was your favorite frightening? Not the FP one, but was it Shit Hits? Was that your?
Oh no, I love Shit Hits. I loved Face Down was a great song.
Oh, Face Down's a good one. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I have any. But I think this might be the only one that I have right here, right now. Wait, sorry. Good night, everybody.
Yeah. Do you know which bitch to blame? I'm just wondering.
I'm not sure. I do. I actually do, Matt. I know exactly who to. I'll tell you when this show's over.